Hello, dear students. In our today's session of microbiology part first, now we are going to study about the different examples of the proteins. In which the first example which we are going to see is about the hemoglobin. Now, the name hemoglobin, it is composed from the two words. The word hem means the blood and globin means a globular protein. When the globular protein which is present inside the blood is known as hemoglobin, and it is the iron containing, oxygen binding, and transporting metalloprotein. It generally transfers oxygen from lungs to the other tissues, which is the most important function of the hemoglobin. And it is hydrophilic in nature. Hydro means water and philic means loving. It is generally present inside the liquid portion of the blood. Generally, hemoglobin it is found in the RBCs, and it is a tetramer made up of four polypeptide chains held together by non covalent interaction. Now, as the four different polypeptide chains come together and bind to each other with the help of non covalent interaction, it is a best example of quaternary structure and मल्टी सब यूनिट प्रोटीन. जैसे कि हमने पिछले लेक्चर में डिफरेंट स्ट्रक्चर स्टडी किए थे प्रोटीन्स के, उसमें हमने देखा था कि क्वाटरनरी स्ट्रक्चर में क्या होता है, व्हेन टू और मोर पॉलीपेप्टाइड चेन कम्स टुगेदर and forms a structure due to interaction between the R group. It is known as the quaternary structure, and hemoglobin is the best example of the quaternary structure. And it is a tetramer composed of each of the two types of closely related subunit alpha and beta. Now here you can see the subunit alpha and beta are joined to each other, and a heme group as well as the iron containing group is present in the structure of hemoglobin. So this is the structure of the heme group. Now most of the amino acids form a alpha helix, and each subunit consists of a heme group and a oxygen binding site. Now here you can see the presence of heme group as well as the oxygen binding site in the structure of the heme group. And the globin protein of the subunit is folded in a pattern which forms a strong pocket of binding to the heme group. Here a proximal histidine and iron forms a strong pocket like structure where the heme group gets bind, and a perfect structure it is formed, which you can see in the diagram. It is the heme group of the hemoglobin. So this is the first example of the protein which is known as hemoglobin. Now the second example is the flagellin. Now the flagellin it is a globular protein that has a unique property of arranging itself in a hollow cylindrical form forming the filament of the bacterial flagellin. बैक्टीरिया में जो भी फ्लैजिलम प्रेजेंट होता है, दैट फ्लैजिलम इज मेड अप ऑफ प्रोटीन विच इज नोन एज फ्लैजिलिन. और ये जो फ्लैजिलिन होते हैं दे आर द ग्लोबुलर प्रोटीन, और ये ग्लोबुलर प्रोटीन एक दूसरे को सिलेंड्रिकल फॉर्म में जॉइंट होते हैं, एंड दैट सिलेंड्रिकल फॉर्म present inside the bacteria, it is known as flagellum. The flagellum inside the bacteria gets proper characteristic of helical shape due to the structure of flagellin. It is the structure of flagellin that gives the filament the characteristic of the helical shape, and each flagellin, it generally has the mass about 30,000 to 60,000 daltons, and the flagellin is the main subunit of the bacterial flagellum. बैक्टीरियल फ्लैजेला का जो मेन सब यूनिट होता है, दैट मेन सब यूनिट इट इज़ द फ्लैजेलिन, और इसका जो वेट होता है, उसका जो मास होता है, इट इज़ नियर अबाउट 30,000 to 60,000 डाल्टन्स. The next important example of the protein is the cytoskeleton protein. Now the name itself indicates the cytoskeleton protein. It is generally present inside the bacterial cell. It has been revealed, or it has been studied, that the bacteria contains a number of cytoskeletal protein similar to those found in the prokaryotic cell. प्रोकैरियोटिक सेल में जैसे साइटोस्केलेटल प्रोटीन्स प्रेजेंट होते हैं, सिमिलर साइटोस्केलेटल प्रोटीन्स आर प्रेजेंट इन द prokaryotic cell or the bacterial cell. These are homologs of the three important eukaryotic cytoskeleton protein. Eukaryotic cell में three important cytoskeleton protein present होते हैं, which includes actin, tubulin and intermediate filament protein. उन्हीं तीन टाइप के प्रोटीन जैसा ही स्ट्रक्चर प्रोकैरियोटिक सेल में प्रेजेंट होता है, and it is known as cytoskeletal protein. The most important role of cytoskeletal protein is in the cell division, cell polarity. It gives proper shape to the cell. It regulates various activities carried out inside the cell, as well as the plasmid participation and many other functions inside the cells are carried out with the help of cytoskeletal proteins. And these cytoskeletal protein itself assembles into filamentous structure inside the cell and forms a intracellular order structure. साइटोस्केलेटल प्रोटीन क्या करता है, खुद ही असेंबल होता है फिलामेंटस फॉर्म में, एक फिलामेंट जैसा थ्रेड लाइक स्ट्रक्चर फॉर्म में ये साइटोस्केलेटल प्रोटीन अरेंज हो जाते हैं इनसाइड द सेल, एंड इट फॉर्म्स अ इंट्रासेलुलर ऑर्डर स्ट्रक्चर. सेल के अंदर एक ऑर्डर, प्रॉपर ऑर्डर में लीनियर स्ट्रक्चर ये साइटोस्केलेटल फॉर्म करते हैं, विच कैरी आउट वेरियस फंक्शन इनसाइड द सेल्स. सो these are the examples of the proteins present inside the cell, in which we have studied about hemoglobin, flagellin and cytoskeleton. There are more types of proteins which may include myoglobin or such other examples like that. Now here you can see the central dogma, in which it includes the synthesis of mRNA from the DNA. The process in which the synthesis of RNA takes place from the DNA, this process is known as transcription. And when there is synthesis of protein from the RNA, the process it is known as translation. So this is just an overview of central dogma. So this was all about the proteins, in which we have already studied about the proteins, then the types of proteins, classification of proteins, then the different structures of proteins we have studied in detail, as well as we have seen amino acids, classification of amino acids, in which we have studied the 5 classes of amino acids. Then we have also studied the various examples of the proteins. So here we are completing with the unit protein. Thank you.